Hi y'all. I'd like to talk to you right now about week 7, our penultimate week in this 8-week summer term. This week you only have one assignment, the rough draft. It's due on Wednesday. Now it's in your best interest to have this rough draft as close as possible to your final paper. That way you'll give yourself plenty of time for revision and you'll give me a lot of your work to write comments on. Hopefully, with your ideas and mine, you can come up next week with an absolutely solid research paper. Now, what I've given you here is a sample research paper, and I'd like to go through it with you a little bit to show you how you can use it for your own paper. Now, let's open it up. And here we go. This is a paper that was written, a long time ago. I don't even remember who it was. If somebody gave me permission to use it as an example, I take the names off, of course. Now you see at the very top, you've got a title. I'd like your paper to have a title. Please don't make it research paper or essay number 2. It needs to be a title. Notice it's the same font. It's not bolded. It's not italicized. It's not in quotation marks. It shouldn't have this extra space either. In MLA format, which is what we use, Modern Language Association, it should actually be double spaced with the rest of the paper. Now, this writer, I think this was a woman. She's writing about Nicholas Kristof. You probably recognize the name. Some of you are writing about Kristof too. He's an Oregon boy. And many of you have read his articles in the Times. He's been writing there for a long time. She's writing about ideas of Nicholas Kristof, and she's analyzing them. Of course, you do not need to be writing about your columnist. We've already gone over that. Now, she begins with a quotation. It's tricky beginning with quotation. You certainly can, but every time you use a quotation, immediately afterwards, you need to analyze it. You need to talk about it. Why did you use it? So she's writing about intolerance in religion. She begins with a quotation. Immediately afterwards, she explains the use of it. She introduces the author's name, and he has written several columns about religious intolerance in the New York Times. He sets the above scene. See, she's talking about the quotation there, for a specific article, Religious Freedom in Peril. Notice the period is inside the quotation marks, always, always, always. Now here she's talking about his perspective. He, that's Kristof, argues the point that it is getting more and more difficult for people to practice their religious beliefs. And now here is her thesis for the paper. At the end of her introductory paragraph, it is my intent to bring out the flaw in Kristof's writings about why and by whom the religious are persecuted. Be very careful about putting quotation marks around words. You want to do this very sparingly, only if you want to point out the word specifically as a word there. So she said very briefly, she has said what Kristof believes and what she is going to do in this paper. Now, she begins the paper, the body of her paper, by arguing the opposite of her thesis. In many ways, I cannot disagree with Kristof. You probably should do this in your own paper. Whatever your thesis is, immediately start showing the rebuttal, the opposite, so that then you can knock it down. So then she talks about the ways in which she does agree with Kristof, and then she's getting into why Kristof is wrong. Now, notice here, I want to show you, she's got an indented quotation. Every quotation that's more than 4 lines, this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, needs to be indented. Notice there are no quotation marks here. You should not have many of these. I think this is the only one that she has. Now, she's still saying, I appreciate Kristof's candor with this issue. But then she goes, and this is where Christoph and I disagree. Now, she is spending the rest of the paper talking about how she disagrees with Christoph. I'm not going to read it to you. You can read it yourself. And now this is the conclusion. People should be able to worship how they want, and they in turn should extend that to others. So even though I might not completely agree with Christoph, I say to him that should be a comma instead of a semicolon. Please continue to write columns discussing religious intolerance. Period again inside the quotation marks. So she has a conclusion here where she is summing up what her point is. Then she has a works cited, and notice everything is alphabetical in terms of the last name. Oh, you can tell this was a long, oh, no, this is print. I'm sorry. And this is MLA guidelines. Notice she has 2 articles by Nicholas Kristof. The second one, instead of putting Christoph's name again, she has 3 dashes and then a period. And she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sources, which is perfect. Good luck. Have any questions? Talk to me about it.